Usually the stuff that makes them look bad. You know who makes us look good?
Who makes us look good?
Kevin Burch.
He does.
We've been dying to get him back.
He's good looking too.
He's a good looking dude, man. He's a good looking dude. And he's here actually on Nemo Nation, his first appearance. Hey, Kevin, welcome aboard, my friend.
Kevin. Hey, how you doing, Jimmy Mac?
I'm good, brother. And say good morning to Dave Nemo.
Dave Nemo. Good morning from Dayton, Ohio.
Ah, good morning. Good morning. Back at the homestead, huh?
There you go.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful Monday morning. I was looking forward to speaking to you all. It's been a while, and looking forward to, talking to the listeners and whatnot about trucking.
Hashtag nothing without trucking. Have you heard that before?
Well, I did. Prior to that, it was TMAF, Trucking Moves America Forward, wasn't it?
Yes. And every time I think about you, I always flash on that scene with we're all on the Elizabeth Barnes there. We had Todd Spencer from OOIDA was there, and we kicked off TMAF on the flatbed stage behind the convention center in Louisville. How many years ago? Was that 10 years?
You're close. It's coming up on 11 years.
Wow. Okay.
Kevin, let me ask you something real quick. It's 11 years. 11 years. This is, and by the way, the first person in trucking I met outside of Radio Nemo was Kevin.
Wow.
Met him at the not Matt's. Met him at GATS.
Oh, GATS.
At the Great American Truck Show, and we actually struck up a friendship right at that moment. And Kevin, the way we kind of do stuff around here is with this new show and this new format, we'd love to get your take on what it is you're looking at these days, what it is you're tracking, and what it is you're keeping up with. So what is on your mind? Where are you? Where is your focus? And where are you at?
Well, thank you again for the few minutes that we have, because it's important that we continue to tell our story. I mean, Dave's been telling. He and I are about the same age. We've been trying to tell our story for a lot of years, decades, and we just can't let the foot off the accelerator, if you will. So what keeps me up, or what am I thinking about? Well, Dave, you mentioned nothing without trucking. That's the new image, if you will, for the trucking industry. We went from TMAF, which was about 10 years old, into nothing without trucking, and that's starting to get a little momentum going. Back during COVID, let's face it, that was an opportunity. As you all know, is that I'm an optimist, and I look at things a little bit differently. That was an opportunity for us to tell our story about how vital we are as an industry in keeping America's goods moving and the shelves full, because I tell you what, we became the heroes during that time, and we added a lot of information to the public on what we do and why we do what we do safely moving America's goods. So I'm concerned about that, but it's the other thing that I think, Jimmy Mac, to ask you about mention about what's going on. We had a driver shortage. I think indirectly, the economy is kind of taking care of some of that. But this retention is so important, how we treat our men and women, not only behind the wheel, but the technicians, and also still informing the public what we do. Let's face it, our companies are operating pennies on the dollar. And during COVID, everybody got a pay raise in trucking. And that's good. They were well overdue. But what's concerning to me is that, it's tough for companies now to invest and keep going. They're challenged, I think, more now than many years, the last 20, 30 years, because of higher cost, pay raises, and unfortunately, because of the slowness in the economy, the rates aren't there, and it's hard. I mean, let's just face it. This reminds me of 2010 and 2011 when we lost a lot of carriers. It's not all positive. It's not all negative. I'm just a realist. I'm just saying we're being challenged, whether you're a trucking company of 5 trucks or one with 15,000. We all have those same issues right now. And, let's hope that we've got better days ahead for our industry.
I wanted to kind of follow up on something because for the people who don't know, and Kevin doesn't toot his own horn, Kevin has been in the past one of the recipients of the Lee J. Crittenden Memorial Award for the Professional Truck Driver Institute. And that award is basically was given for your support of highly skilled, safe, and professional drivers. You're a big fan of the idea that this is a profession, not simply a job. And so I'm kind of curious. We talked about retention a little bit here, Kevin, but I would love your thoughts on given the atmosphere right now, because you're right, it's a kind of a push-pull. You know, rates are falling. There's a capacity situation going on right now, but it does mean the people who still are in the market and still fighting the good fight and making money want to hold on to their quality drivers. What strategies do you see being necessary to make sure your retention numbers stay up and that you're not churning and burning?
Well, you know, I tell you what, truckers, we seem to get the job done no matter what, but it's got to start from the top up. My friendly competitors and colleagues and whatnot, you know, it's the culture of the company. And, you know, I think years ago, Dave and Jimmy, you know, we use that word kind of loosely, culture. But I'm here to tell you that we all basically use the same computers, the same selection, if you will, of trucks and trailers and manufacturers. But when it comes to the actual running of a company, it's the culture. And there's nothing better than to have a great culture. And a driver, male or female, they can detect if you don't have a culture and if you don't actually do what you say you're going to do. And they're pretty smart. And in saying that, this retention is spot on right now because drivers are looking and they're moving. And you all know it costs a lot of money to retain a driver. But it's worth it because good drivers are hard to find. Not everybody can be a truck driver. I get it. But there's a lot of people out there right now that are in this transition. Once again, I hate to say it, but we're up around probably as an industry 95 to 100% on driver turnover. That's not good.
Well, it's not good.
It's got to be the culture.
But it's pretty average too. If you take a look, I remember seeing a number, and this is years ago, Kevin, but trucking had a 138% turnover ratio at one point. It's always been like that. But one of the things that you point out is it costs a lot of money to lose a driver and costs a lot of money to bring a driver on, but the driver is also losing money usually when they leave a company because a lot of times they don't do it right or they don't take a look at the long-term loss that they'll get in, say, like a 401k or some kind
they
of
get the
retirement
bonus
plan.
and don't realize that the bonus is covering walking into a situation with a toxic culture. That the bonus is the way they get people into some of those cultures that Kevin is so afraid of. Sorry about that. I just wanted to jump in there with that.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that go on to the driver that aren't apparent until it's too late to turn back a lot of times. Is that a harder? I guess it's hard to get that message across to somebody.
Well, I tell you what, you know, I got some whiskers on this chin of mine, and I can tell you that over the years, I probably saved some drivers leaving by just doing, I guess, forget about the phone calls and the internet and whatnot, text messages. But when you do eyeball to eyeball to a gentleman or a woman that's contemplating to leave, the new company, it may be so much per mile, maybe a penny more, maybe a nickel more, but how many miles you're going to get. The other thing is there a holdback? Some companies have 1 week, 2 weeks. I mean, or now some of them have 3 week holdbacks. Mm-hmm. Do you have to drive further to and from work? So those are things that I try to get across to the driver, if you will, that, hey, listen, I'm not here to tell you what to do, but you're a family person. The family's got to be involved in this. But there may be a week or two, so you need to take a solid look at it and come across as sincere about what their future looks like by leaving for what they think is a lot more money, because chances are they're not looking at the whole picture. And you know what? That doesn't take that much time, you guys. It might take a half hour to maybe educate and let the driver know, you know, it's not always greener on the other side.
You know, Kevin, you set up a really interesting thing in regards to culture, because a lot of people use the word culture and it's just a buzzword. It's just it's another corporate speak. What you just did there, for all of our listeners out there, Kevin Burch, by the way, is joining us. He, of course, is Vice President, Governmental Affairs and Sales at Martin Transportation Systems, and a whole lot more than that. One of the best ambassadors for trucking in America. But one of the things you just kind of set up here really nicely is that what you just did, the idea of sitting down with somebody and saying, you want to leave. Let me help you leave. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Let's go through this and talk about what it's going to take, because Dave said it. He said doing it wrong. A lot of people leave wrong, don't understand. They just want to walk out the door. But if you have a line of communication, you can say, hey, let's figure out how you get out of here and keep on making money. If you can show them on paper that it's a mistake by simply working it through with them, there's a better chance that you retain them, correct?
Yeah, Jimmy Mac, you're 100% right on that. And what better, over the years, I've noticed that you don't want a driver that has an attitude about the company. You want a driver that's got ideas and suggestions. I'm not talking about one that wants to change the company, if you will. But I certainly, over the years, like I said before, when these drivers, when you shake their hands and they've got a million, and you two both have done this, and 1 million miles of safe driving, 5 million miles of safe driving, that's a heck of a feat. But if you get a driver that's got suggestions on, they're the ones that are running the companies. I've said this before. Drivers drive the companies that handle our goods. And shame on us for not listening to them and seeing whether there is a partnership on it. If there isn't, they can see it and they move on and go somewhere else. But chances are that company's got some issues in other situations. But let's face it, these drivers, I don't care if you're talking EVs or if you're talking about autonomous trucking, we need to do a better job. We're doing better than what we were 10 years ago. We really are. And it's easy to put the negatives on it, but we got to continue to keep telling our story because it's changing. We need younger drivers. We need the technology. I get all that, but we also need to communicate. And sometimes we think we are, but we don't.
A few years back when the autonomous trucking thing started up, my joke used to be 3.5 million truck drivers out of work by next Thursday, because that was kind of the buzz.
They laid them off yesterday. They all got laid off this morning. Yeah, it happened.
Yeah.
It happened.
In the talks that you have with drivers and prospective drivers, for that matter, especially maybe some older folks, do you think that the fear of the autonomous truck, disappearing all of the truck driving jobs in the world, do you think that's kind of faded away in people's minds and they understand the true perspective here? Or is it still a big thing?
I can honestly say that the last 4 or 5 years, and that's been kind of that time period that we've been facing, I think every month that goes by, I think that people realize that there's a need still for the trucking driver. Maybe different dynamics in what they do, but we're going to need them. And so I'm saying I think we're weaning this thing down to reality, rather than just a media hype on what's going on. So I don't think that's. I think every month it's getting better as far as educating the people what's going on.
There's a reason why Andrew Yang doesn't have a job and truck drivers do. He got it totally wrong. Hey, by the way, just really quickly, our good friend Mark wrote that for Father's Day he had Salisbury steak, mashed potatoes, corn, and a homemade pecan pie for his Father's Day dinner. Nice. What did you do yesterday on Sunday? Did you have a good day yesterday, Kevin?
Yeah, I tell you what, I just reflected my dad passed away on Father's Day in 1988, and that's the year that I came to Dayton, Ohio. So yesterday was a reflection day. And then I watched a little bit of golf on TV and did some yard work. So I just kind of regrouped a little bit and I really had a good time.
By the way, did you see the putt that he made at the end of the match? Did you see it? The winning putt?
All 65 feet. I watched it.
Oh my God! Jim Nance saying he can do it in 2. How about in 1? And then to watch his wife and his children just erupt in joy with the rest of the crowd. Kevin, we're out of time, brother. I can't thank you enough for making the time. It's great to have you as an addition on one of the first Nemo Nations we've ever done. Thank you, brother.
God bless you guys. And Dave Nemo, good hearing from you. Jimmy Mac, keep spreading the word, and God bless all the listeners.
Kevin Burch, who lives in the no hype zone.
Yeah, I mean, he really does, doesn't he? I mean, and by the way, he over the course of time, what I love about him is a guy who kind of spreads the good word about trucking. He's also very honest about it. There's a lot of people who just want to give a lot of rah-rah, but he reminds us that a lot of these men and women need to be taken better care of.